condemn white supremacy and white nationalism?
I mean, what this guy? Who are you with? Which it's Washington Post. All right, so potato. Okay.
Ain't nothing changed, nothing new here to see. This ain't nothing but some political maneuvering.
America.
Welcome to the eulogy, eat it up. It's called political buffoonery.
Hey there, everybody, and welcome to This Week in DUMBmocracy, where we showcase some of the dumbest newsmakers of the week. We're getting down to the nitty-gritty when it comes to the Republican presidential primary field. Donald Trump is still miles ahead of the field. He hasn't participated in any debates, and the kids' table is getting smaller and smaller by the day. In fact, for the next debate for the Iowa caucus, we're down to two people, Ron DeSantis and Nikki Haley. Unfortunately, Vivek Ramaswamy did not make that debate stage, and thankfully, Chris Christie didn't. I don't know why he's still in the game, but hey, it is what it is, right? But I'm going to miss Vivek on the debate stage. He always brought the thunder. He knew what he was talking about. He had very pointed attacks. He knew what his attack vectors were. He spoke very clearly, very plainly, and he did a great job managing questions and especially dealing with the press. And that's what we're going to be looking at right now. A clip of Vivek Ramaswamy in Iowa dealing with another woke journalist hack. But before we do all that, please subscribe to the channel. Hit that notification bell so you don't miss any of the shows. And if you like what you see and hear in this or any of our other videos, be sure to, you know what to do, smash that thumbs up button, like, comment, share the show with your friends, all that good stuff, especially all you new people out there who are finding the show, because that all helps the YouTube algorithm.
Feed me Seymour.
Thanks again so much for all that you do to help grow the show. I really appreciate it. And speaking of appreciation, let me know who you guys got for the 2023 Buffoon of the Year. There's a bunch of finalists listed in the community tab on our channel. You can see who they are. You can check out the videos with me and my panel of guests choosing each finalist. Pick your own. Tell us who you got for the 2023 Buffoon of the Year. I'll leave it open all weekend, and we'll see who wins. But enough of all that. Let's get to the story. Here's a tweet from Vivek Ramaswamy after Steve King, who is a former Iowa congressman, voted out of office after some controversial comments published by the New York Times that he denies to this day concerning race and white supremacy. After Steve King announced he was endorsing me, predictably, a lame reporter from the Washington Post
Lame.
tried to get me to play the game of, quote, denouncing white supremacy.
Lame, yes.
While she refused to actually define white supremacy, which in recent years encompasses concepts like punctuality and the written word. I refused to play along with her game.
Why?
Because it's lame.
This is actually quite timely because we were just discussing Claudine Gay, the disgraced president of Harvard, or should I say, former president of Harvard, and how the wagons are in a circle around her, claiming that plagiarism is a new method of attack from Republicans and is targeting minorities. So Ramaswamy's on the money here when talking about punctuality, the written word, plagiarism, all these things. It seems to be the new trend. It's the new hotness coming out of the left. And of course, their minions in the media are going to use that to attack conservatives like Ramaswamy. But how he dealt with this particular Washington Post reporter, chef's kiss. It was nearly perfect. So let's get into the clip right now. Here's Vivek Ramaswamy after a town hall in Iowa, reminding us all that he's a freaking Jedi Master at responding to the press.
Do you condemn white supremacy and white nationalism?
I mean, what this guy? Who are you with? Which it's Washington Post. All right, so potato. Okay.
This may seem familiar to those of you who've been observing politics for the past couple of years. This is the same type of question that the press hounded former President Donald Trump with when they said that he wasn't condemning white supremacy.
Flashback.
You were asked point blank to denounce white supremacy. In the moment, you didn't. You asked some follow-up questions. Who specifically? A couple of days later, on a different show, you
always
denounced
do
white
this.
supremacy.
No, you
My
always do
question
this.
to you is,
You've done this to
why
me and
does
everybody.
it seem like
I denounce white supremacy, okay?
You did
I've
2 days
denounced
later.
white supremacy for years, but you always do it. You always start off with a question. You didn't ask Joe Biden whether or not he denounces Antifa. I watched him on the same basic show with Lester Holt, and he was asking questions like Biden was a child.
so this is a little bit of a dodge.
Are you listening? I denounce white supremacy.
Okay.
What's your next question?
Do you feel, it feels sometimes you're hesitant to do so, like you wait a beat.
Here we go again. Every time, in fact, my people came, I'm sure they'll ask you the white supremacy question. I denounce white supremacy.
Okay.
End of flashback.
I don't know if everybody has a memory hole of this, but this is a tired question that hacks in journalism try to use as a gotcha with Republican candidates. But this is 2024, people. They're on to this game. I think the era of wokeness is coming to an end because we're seeing more and more pushback.
No, we're not playing that game anymore.
Of course, I condemn any form of vicious racial discrimination in this country.
I mean, that's all that need be said, right?
Boom, next question.
But I think that the presumption of your question is fundamentally based on a falsehood that really is the main form of racial discrimination we see in this country today. Institutionalized racism is institutionalized racial discrimination that we see that doesn't come from somehow discriminating against people on the basis of some tenet of white supremacy. It's based on affirmative action.
Now, let's think about that for a second. Didn't we just see a lawsuit that went all the way to the Supreme Court where Harvard, back to Harvard again, was discriminating against Asian American students? Yes, there is institutional racism out there. It's just not what the press is portraying it to be. We're seeing discrimination against minorities like Asians we've seen. And look at the reverse discrimination going on right now, especially with, again, I'm going to point her out, disgraced former president of Harvard, Claudine Gay. The wagons are circling around her because everyone's going to claim that she was targeted based upon her race, based upon her gender, and that it was the right that was hounding her with their new tool of plagiarism, as if plagiarism is now another dog whistle.
That dog won't hunt.
It's based on actually discriminating against people on the color of their skin in a way that's actually institutionalized today. Was there a point in our history, at points in our prior national history, where there have been vicious forms of anti-black or anti-brown discrimination throughout this country after the Civil War and otherwise? Yes. But you're looking in the rearview mirror and using that to pose a question today that is so far removed from what the reality is in America today. This myth of white supremacy, the closest you can find is Jussie Smollett, where you all were actually, speaking of trust in the media, jumping up and down over some false narrative. The best way you're able to find your best instance of white supremacy was a guy who was actually paying his other fellow people to be actually staging something that didn't happen.
Oh yeah, MAGA country in Chicago in the dead of winter in the middle of the night.
Is that him? That's that neck. It's that neck. Get that neck. Oh, he's moving fast. Come on, let's get him. Get that neck. Let's get him. Hey, aren't you that Empire? Hey, Empire fat neck. It's MAGA country.
Vivek is on the money, as always, when it comes to questions like this from the press, the gotcha questions. He knows how to handle them. He knows how to answer a question. He already condemned any sort of racism of all sorts, of all kinds, of all stripes. He's now moving forward to show the bad faith of the press here in putting forth that question, which they do over and over again. And he's ready to have a serious discussion about race, but the reporter is not looking for a serious discussion. They're looking for a story.
And so stop picking on this farce of some figment that exists at some infinitesimally small fringe of the American public today to open our eyes to the actual real threats that we face. And I think that it's frankly questions and framings like that that has caused the American public to lose all trust in the mainstream media, I'm sorry to say, for good reason.
The framing, he's exactly right. It's the framing of the question. If this reporter was acting in good faith, she could have asked a question that was more timely based upon current events about what's going on college campuses, what's going on in the streets vis-a-vis anti-Semitism, about what was going on with Harvard, discriminating against Asian students, what was going on in the IRS, discriminating against conservatives, a whole myriad of things if there was good faith behind it. But instead, they went to the default. They went to the boogeyman. What do you think of white supremacy? And Vivek handled this brilliantly. But this is the mainstream media, and they're not going down without a fight, as you'll see after the break. Like what you see so far? Go ahead and smash that thumbs up button. Also, leave us a comment and tell us what you're thinking. And don't forget to subscribe so you never miss another show. Now, we think Vivek Ramaswamy is moving on from that reporter, but no.
You didn't say that you condemn white supremacy.
I'm not going to recite some catechism for you. I'm against vicious racial discrimination in this country. So I'm not pledging allegiance to your new religion of modern wokeism, which actually fits the test. I'm not going to bend the knee to your religion. I'm sorry.
Yes! She went back a second time saying, well, you didn't exactly condemn white supremacy. It's the exact tactic that was used against Trump in 2020. And Vivek goes off. He gets those laser beam eyes focused on her and says, I don't play by your freaking rules. I love this. He's going right back at her. He was nice at first, but then this Washington Post reporter persisted in her false narrative. And now Vivek's taking the gloves off and he ain't playing no more.
I'm not asking you to bend the knee to mine, and I'm not going to bend the knee to yours. But do I condemn vicious racial discrimination? Yes, I do. Am I going to play your silly game of gotcha? No, I'm not. And frankly, this is why people have lost trust. And I know you're going to go print the headline tomorrow. I already know this. We already know how your game works. Vivek Ramaswamy refuses to condemn white supremacy because you asked a stupid question.
Grab a napkin, homie. You just got served.
Oh! You asked a stupid question. The gloves came off. He was not being polite anymore. There's no reason to be polite after a reporter disrespects you like that. You give a whole thoughtful answer that encompasses more than the question asked. And the reporter, the hack, it's not even a reporter, it's a hack journalist from mainstream media that was sent out there with a mission. This hack persists, and now it's time to get smacked down. This is the strength of Vivek Ramaswamy. This is Vivek Ramaswamy at his finest when he's in the trenches with the press. I hope he sticks around after the primary season's over, and I hope he's around for many years because it's this sort of tenacity, it's this sort of, I don't want to call it statesmanship, but he's very stately in his presentation. He doesn't condescend to people. He meets people where they are, and where this reporter is down in the mud. So he's not afraid to get down there either. I really sincerely hope Vivek Ramaswamy is around for a while.
The reality is, I condemn vicious racial discrimination in this country, but the kind of vicious and systematic racial discrimination we see today is discrimination on the basis of race in a very different direction. You want to know what the best way is to end discrimination on the basis of race? Stop discriminating on the basis of race.
Vivek is there. He's on it. He's giving great answers here. And I think he's about to lay into this reporter for dividing rather than uniting. One of Vivek Ramaswamy's themes throughout his campaign is he wants to be the person who unites the nation, right? And I think he's going to just transition right into that sort of line of thinking right now.
Do that, and we're going to move this country forward. And I don't care whether you're black or white or brown or anything in between. That's how we're going to unite this country. You people have been responsible for dividing this country to a breaking point, creating a projection of national division. I meet people from the south side of Chicago to meetings like this one of every shade of melanin, multiple, from man to woman, doesn't make a difference, who are hungry for reviving unity in this country. And you, with your catechism that you try to get to politicians to whatever fake headline you're going to print on the basis of this conversation tomorrow, that's what's dividing this country to a breaking point. Shame on you. Look people in the eye and tell them what you've actually failed to tell them for the last 5 years. Own the accountability for your own failures as the media. That's how we rebuild trust in this country. And until then, I don't have a lot of patience to play the games.
What do you expect from?
I love it. I absolutely love it. It's the perfect answer. Every candidate, including former President Trump, needs to look at clips like this, see how Vivek Ramaswamy ended on a positive note, an aspirational note, talking about uniting rather than dividing, admonishing the reporter to stop being so divisive. It's a great way to show people that I'm here for a positive reason. I'm not going to get down in the mud, but if you make me get down in the mud, I'm going to meet you there too, and I'm going to beat you there too. This is really 10 out of 10 Vivek right here. I love seeing it. But I want to know what you guys think about this clip. I know that Vivek is probably not going to make it to be president. The reality is sunken in. Do you want Vivek Ramaswamy to be around beyond this primary? Do you want to see more of him? Maybe run for some other office? Maybe be in a cabinet? God willing, if a Republican wins the presidency? What do you think the future should hold for Vivek Ramaswamy if he doesn't make it to the presidency? Let's talk about it in the chat. And please, as always, share the show with your friends, smash that thumbs up button, subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell so you don't miss any other shows. I love having conversations with you guys over topics like this. Let's keep having them every day this week in DUMBmocracy.
All views and opinions expressed here are not necessarily of the mainstream media and may offend some listeners. It's called political buffoonery.